Thanksgiving is one of the most unassumingly pagan holidays that exist. On the surface, it seems to be a non-religious, until one begins to question this holiday's history, trappings, and traditions. It is wrapped in the guise of American patriotism and blended with a large helping of family bonding. This is one of the main reasons that Thanksgiving is the most celebrated holiday in America. It is pagan because its practice is connected to the worshiping of false gods. And of course, this breaks commandment number 1 of the 10 Commandments, and that's a very big no-no. Even if Americans desire to hold on to this holiday's fabled version instead of the truth and call it a patriotic day, the next question should be, if this holiday is American-born, then why is it celebrated in various nations throughout the world? Thanksgiving is not a patriotic day of thanks. Thanksgiving is a harvest festival that was honored hundreds of years before America was even discovered, in honor of ancient pagan gods. This pagan festival was simply brought with the immigrants into this country from their various native homelands. Many of these countries from which the immigrants came are still celebrating this festival. In Germany, Thanksgiving is an official major holiday. It is called Erntedag, which literally means Harvest Thanksgiving Day. The harvest festivals are celebrated in churches and marketplaces, in homes and dance halls. This harvest celebration is for the harvest of locally grown produce, ranging from grapes to grain. It is traditionally celebrated in early October, on the Sunday after the full moon that occurs nearest to the autumnal equinox. In America, that moon is known as the harvest moon. This pagan holiday shows honor to their harvest gods. Grain is brought into barns on big wagons, pulled by decorated oxen, and on top of the wagons there are sheaves of grain that are bound in the form of a figure, animal, or human. This design was brought here to America in the form of the scarecrow. This is why during the autumn months, in the grocery stores, in the produce section, you can most often view a scarecrow hanging. This represents their harvest gods overlooking their crops. This time, not in the fields of a cold European country, but in our modern version, the produce aisle of your local food store. Another present-day pagan harvest festival that is still celebrated is called Chung Chui by the ancient Chinese. This harvest moon festival, as it is called, is still one of the most widely celebrated festivals for Chinese anywhere in the world. The Harvest Moon Festival, like American Thanksgiving, is celebrated with an extended family and is focused around a large meal that is prepared for all the members of the family. It is held in September or October. It occurs on the full moon after the autumnal equinox. This day is fabled by the Chinese to be the birthday of the moon, and special cakes are made and stamped with this picture of a rabbit. Rabbits are notoriously represented throughout history for fertility. The families ate a Thanksgiving meal and feasted on a roasted pig, harvested fruits, and the special cakes. What we must always remember is that just like it is told to us in the scriptures, there is nothing new under the sun. Ecclesiastes 1:9.
The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. There is no new thing under the sun.
All the holidays that we presently celebrate are the remaining pagan feasts from ancient times. These pagan feasts were set to honor and worship pagan gods and goddesses. From one ancient dynasty to another, newer dynasties not only conquered the previous one's land, riches, and cities, but also their deities. All that's ever changed is the names of the cities, the buildings, and the names of their gods. There is no coincidence that time after time you will find in ancient times that one culture's gods have the same characteristics and are celebrated in the same fashion that the previous culture celebrated. Let's look at the southern European countries. We can find the same type of worship of harvest gods. In the ancient civilization of Greece, the goddess of grains, Demeter, was celebrated during their autumnal harvest festival called Themysphora. She was thanked for the year's harvest with feasting, family, and thanksgiving. In ancient Rome, the goddess Ceres was worshipped during their festival called Cerealia. The word cereal comes from her name, Ceres. Remember, she was their grain god. Cereal comes from grain. This festival was held each year in October, and the first fruits of the harvest and pigs were offered to this pagan deity. The celebration of Ceres in ancient Rome included much of the same festivities as Americans' modern-day Thanksgiving. The pagan festival of Cerealia focused around the great feast of Thanksgiving, as does modern Thanksgiving. Cerealia festivals included large parades and their spectators, as does the American Macy's version of Thanksgiving Day Parade, and its national broadcast to even the smallest of American cities and towns. The pagan Cerealia included great games and sports as a major part of honoring the great goddess Ceres. Celebrating modern-day Thanksgiving wouldn't be the same without the annual Thanksgiving Day football game, which is truly as much a part of Thanksgiving as is the cranberry sauce and the holiday table cornucopias. Speaking of the symbol of Thanksgiving, cornucopias, this holiday table decoration was not chosen by accident to represent this festival. The cornucopia is a Latin term originating from two words, cornu, meaning horn, copia, meaning plenty. This horn of plenty is usually shown overflowing with nuts and fruit. We are told that it symbolizes prosperity or abundance. In Greek mythology, this horn belongs to a goat cared for by the infant pagan god Zeus. This fable tells us that the infant Zeus accidentally broke off one of the horns from the goat's head. As the fable continues, Zeus, in apology, offered that the possessor of this horn would receive from within this horn whatever his owner wished for. Because of this, the cornucopia came to symbolize the unasked gifts from the gods. The cornucopia has been used as an emblem of many pagan deities, including Copia, the Roman goddess of wealth and plenty who carries the cornucopia, Justia, the Roman goddess of justice, Spes, the Roman goddess of hope, Anos, the Roman deity of morality and military honor, and many others. Even in Masonry, the cornucopia even finds a place. It symbolizes peace, plenty, and joy. So remember the cornucopia's history before you add it to your season's decorations. The pagan history of Thanksgiving festival can be traced even further back in time. Look into the scriptures to see the early trappings of this copycat day of offering and thanks at the time of harvest. Although Israel's King David was completely faithful to Yahweh throughout his life, his son, King Solomon, built towers for the worship of false gods during the later years of his life. This act of pagan worship was to be punished by Yahweh. 1 Kings 11:11-13.
Wherefore Yahweh said unto Solomon, Thou hast not kept my covenant and my statutes. I will surely rend the kingdom from thee, and will give it to thy servant. But I will rend it out of the hand of thy son. I will not rend away all the kingdom, but will give one tribe to thy son for David my servant's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake, which I have chosen.
Because of King Solomon's disobedience, upon his death, his son Rehoboam became king. But Yahweh allowed the nation of Israel to become split into two houses, one governed by King Solomon's son, King Rehoboam, and one governed by King Solomon's servant, King Jeroboam. This later led to the creation of a pagan festival replicating one of Yah's holy days. Yahweh instructed King Solomon's son's rival, Jeroboam, that he would bless him and his reign as the king of Israel, if he kept Yahweh's law. 1 Kings 11:38.
And it shall be, if thou wilt hearken unto all that I command thee, and wilt walk in my ways, that I will be with thee, and build thee a sure house, as I built for David, and I will give Israel unto thee.
King Jeroboam's faith, however, was weak. He feared that the Israelites would return to King Rehoboam if they kept Yahweh's ordained holy day feasts in Jerusalem. Therefore, he created a pagan festival that was exactly 1 month to the day after the feast that Yahweh had already ordained and built false gods for the people to honor. Yahweh gave his people, the Israelites, 7 annual feasts in which to honor him. The Feast of Tabernacles, which is also called the Feast of Ingathering, is one of these feasts. This feast was sanctioned by Yahweh to be celebrated on the 15th day of the Hebrew 7th month, which falls in the modern calendar usually during the month of October. Leviticus 23:33.
And Yahweh spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, The 15th day of this 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days unto Yahweh.
King Jeroboam set up a pagan festival to replace Yahweh's holy day in the 7th month. This festival was set up in the Hebrew 8th month instead, corresponding to the modern month of November. 1 Kings 12:32-33.
And Jeroboam ordained a feast in the 8th month, on the 15th day of the month, like unto the feast that is in Judah. And he offered upon the altar. So did he in Bethel, sacrificing unto the calves which he had made. And he placed in Bethel the priests of the high places which he had made. So he offered upon the altar which he had made in Bethel the 15th day of the 8th month, even in the month which he had devised in his own heart, and ordained a feast unto the children of Israel. And he offered upon the altar and burnt incense.
2 Chronicles 11:15.
And Jeroboam ordained his priests for the high places, and for the devils, and for the calves which he had made.
Surely it is amazing to consider that the pagan festival that Jeroboam created to trick the Israelites into remaining under his reign so many centuries ago still haunts us to this day. Everything that we need to do and everything that we should do is written in the scriptures. Yahweh set aside times for our people to give thanks to him, the creator of all things, not to minor pagan gods over only harvest or fertility or the sun. We must remember that these things are only creations. They were made by the Most High, the creator of all things. Both the Feast of First Fruits and the Feast of Tabernacles, also called the Feast of Ingathering, share aspects of thanking Yahweh for his bountiful harvest, both literally from the fields and non-literally for the righteous men of Israel, his first fruits, and most importantly, his son Yeshua, his first fruits of men. Nehemiah 12:46.
For in the days of David and Asaph of old, there were chief of the singers and songs of praise and thanksgiving unto Elohim.
Exodus 23:16.
And the feast of harvest, the first fruits of thy labors, which thou hast sown in the field, and the feast of ingathering, which is in the end of the year, when thou hast gathered in thy labors out of the field.
Exodus 34:22.
And thou shalt observe the feast of weeks, of the first fruits of wheat harvest, and the feast of ingathering at the year's end.
1 Corinthians 15:20.
But now is Christ risen from the dead, and become the firstfruits of them that slept.
Leviticus 7:12.
If he offer it for a thanksgiving, then he shall offer with the sacrifice of thanksgiving unleavened cakes mingled with oil, and unleavened wafers anointed with oil, and cakes mingled with oil of fine flour fried.
Be not confused. Thanksgiving is a pagan holiday. It is not a patriotic day.